BarrioLoveOldies.com. Órale.
Everyone, it is I, of course, your girl, Miss Marie from Barrio Love Oldies, back at it again with episode number 6 here on the Barrio Love Oldies podcast. And if you are a returning listener, I want to say thank you so much for coming back and revisiting us again. I hope that you've really been enjoying all the interviews that we've been posting. I know I personally have. I've been enjoying interviewing because there's not one person that I've interviewed that I haven't took something from that conversation. And each person has their own story, and that's what is intriguing to me, is that just hearing their stories, how they got inspired to start collecting vinyl or become an artist. It's just been amazing. And you know, I really hope that you continue to visit us and that you are following us. I think we're booked out for the next 2 months, so I'm bringing you some good interviews. So if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe, and if you're not following yet, please follow us to stay updated with all our upcoming episodes. Also, I want to say we are officially 6 days away from the Pinta Estilo's first annual art exhibit, where myself and Angel Baby will be there hosting the event. And I am super nervous and excited, but I'm most excited about meeting all of you. So I really hope that you guys do attend. I would love to meet you and get to know you, and I hope that you guys all make it out. It is a family-friendly event, so bring your kids, bring your family. It's gonna be good. We're gonna have a great time, and I hope to see all of you guys there. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into our sponsor commercial.
Pinta Estilo invites you to their first annual prison art exhibit going down Saturday, June 15th at Mr. Rosewood's Family Restaurant, located at 10640 Rosecrans Avenue in Norwalk, Califas. Check it. If you have a loved one or know someone who's incarcerated and is an artist, get their artwork submitted at pintaestilo.com. And we're also gathering jackets, gloves, and beanies for the kids, with 3 original Pinta Estilo art pieces being raffled off. Pinta Estilo prison art exhibit is free to the public, and the first 100 attendees gonna get some free grub. Hashtag Vinyl Ruca, Chicana 62, Nay, Licha, Bree, and Shelly Boo will be bumping them vinyl rolas for you all day long. Myself, Angel Baby, and Miss Crystal Marie, we're gonna be your host for the day, Baby Bubba. Show! For full info and vendors, hit pintaestilo.com or hit them up on Instagram, TikTok, any one of their social media, or call 626-316-4000. Special invite to all you car clubs and solo riders. Show!
What's up, everybody? We are here with none other than Soul Motion. First and foremost, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I truly appreciate it. It's truly an honor to have you here, and I'm just excited. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel excited. I feel thrilled when you called and wanted to have me on your podcast. Oh, I was blessed, man. I was tickled pink.
Yes. We were talking about, just throwing ideas out there, and I was like, what about Soul Motion? And he was like, oh, yeah. So we definitely had to reach out. I know we met each other. Well, you've been a part of the family for many years, even before I came to the picture. But, I met you because of that. I think I met you officially at my father-in-law's wedding, right? That's
wedding,
right. Yeah.
Right.
I had to have you on the interview, so thank you so much for that.
I appreciate it. My pleasure.
So, where are you from, born and raised? So, where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born in California, in the East Bay area, up north, in California, in Hayward, California. Born and raised there.
Okay. And do you have siblings?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 5. My mom's was a single parent. She raised all 5 boys, and I'm the youngest of them all.
Wow, you're the baby. So it's all 5. It's all boys.
Mom's raised all boys. Yeah.
Wow. How was that growing up? Just boys.
That was that was something else. It was something else, being the youngest, and of course, growing up in the neighborhood, mom had to do her thing, working and handling 2 jobs, and then, doing what she can to provide, and, and we just had to watch out for one another. You know what I mean? And we just had to be careful growing up on the streets and in the Bay, growing up there, man. It was crazy in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, so my next question is, what was your environment like growing up?
Well, growing up in the Bay Area, where I'm from in Hayward, it was Chicanos growing up who were young, and so back then, the car shows that we have now, they weren't called car shows; they were called happenings, and so a lot of friction or how do you say, static between the police and just us young Chicanos growing up in the neighborhood. But one individual that really was the bridge or the go-between between us growing up in the neighborhood and to allow functions like these happenings, what we called it back then, at high schools. This was the late 70s, early 80s, so these type of events were unheard of. And so his name was Juan Espinoza. We called him Big John. He played a vital role. He started a cable access channel in the Bay Area, and he was our mouthpiece, for the Chicano movement. He was affiliated with the Brown Berets, so he was real heavy and really looked out for us Chicanos growing up in the neighborhood against police brutality. He had a show, and you can see many of his videos now. I believe there's a documentary coming out where you can see a lot of his videos actually in this documentary. So he played a big role for us Chicanos growing up, and Juan Espinoza, he would be the go-between, man. He was he played a big brother. As a matter of fact, he was my counselor when I first got busted and went to juvenile hall my very first time. He was a very bulky, tall guy, Chicano, and I remember him, the key jingling. It was lights out and a big silhouette of him coming in, and he goes, Lovato, your name Lovato? I go, yeah. He goes, you got a brother named Bobby? I go, yeah. And that was it. The door slammed and that was it. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? What did he do? I'm here in juvenile hall. Did he get on this guy's bad side?
Yeah.
But no, he looked out for us. And ever since then, he played a very vital role in my life growing up in the neighborhood. He took all of us under his wing. And he would take his cable access network to different cities, different happenings. He would put on car shows or happenings, as they were called back then, at different events in the Bay Area, and that was pretty much unheard of, back then. And again, like I say, all you got to do is you can find his clippings on YouTube, and man. He was a great inspiration, not only to me, but to my family and a lot of us young guys growing up, man. And he passed away a few years back, but I thank you for allowing me to share about him and just playing a big role.
Okay, for those that have not ever watched or heard of Barrio Expressions, can you kind of explain what that show was like?
Yes. Okay, this show was a cable access show. It was on basic cable. Back then, this was before, HBO barely came out. So it was a cable access network on public access cable. And it was called Barrio Expression. so he would have a show where he would have a panel. He'd invite Chicanos from the neighborhood to sit on a panel across from, you know, politicians or police advocates, and he would be the go-between. He would be our voice when they didn't want to listen to us, because you know, you gotta understand, back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, it was, you know, the genre was different, you know, and so he played a big role, and he would go and interview different Chicanos throughout the neighborhood. So he played the peacemaker, but he was really for the Chicano movement, man. He was really for us Chicanos when we didn't have nobody, you know.
Wow.
And yeah, he played a very big role, and he would have us come work in the studio behind the cameras and things like that, to keep us out of trouble, to keep us, you know, from being targeted or things like that.
You know, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm thinking, like, man, like in the 80s and the 90s, it was a different time, right? It was very active, and not how you said, you know, there was not a lot of like resources of
exactly
at that time.
Just like you said, there was not a lot of venues or outlets that we could go to be heard, you know, and he would play a big role of bringing the Chicano community together, because, you know, back then we didn't have a voice, you know, and all we had was our music and our style of dress, you know, and so he played a big part in my upbringing, and when he passed, man, it really broke me, and I'll never forget him. And so, you know, and that's why I really appreciate you allowing me to talk about him and kind of bring it up.
Of course. I think it's awesome because, you know, like how we're saying, like, you know, at that time there wasn't a lot of resources of entertainment. Right. And that's amazing to know that besides providing some type of entertainment, he took it further and was like, let me help these guys out. Let me give them a voice. And, you know, maybe by that, you know, maybe his thought was like, maybe somebody's life could be touched if I give them an opportunity.
Exactly.
You know? Well, that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he touched a lot of us young brown folks growing up in the neighborhood, and so that was really a key in the community that I grew up within the Bay Area. And so, and like you said, that's all we had. He was our voice, and he bring the music, and he coordinated happenings at schools when that was unheard of, you know, and he would go driving around the neighborhoods and just document the lifestyle, you know, everyday lifestyle, you know, and so even to this day, I look at some of the old footage that we have, and it's just like, man, I remember that. I remember these times, and you know, wow, where did time go? But from there to now, things are totally different. But what remained the same, what was the constant, was the music.
So he had a positive influence in his time.
Oh, definitely.
You know, like in the 80s, your environment, I'm sure, was crazy, but he was a positive influence on your generation. That's awesome.
Exactly, because we didn't have the resources that the young people have now, you know, so we didn't have those type of, how do you say, connections or places to go to hang out, you know, and we was either gathered at one individual's house or under the street lamp or whatever it was, and he was that bridge to do that, and he created areas where we can kick back and relax without being worried about being harassed or anything like that. So he played a major role in my life.
And can he be found on YouTube, or where can
Oh,
we look
yeah,
him up?
definitely. Just Google YouTube and Barrio Expression, and that's all you got to do. Just Google that, and you'll see some old clippings. And like I said, a lot of it's homegrown in the neighborhood, and that's what he did. And he rescued a lot of us individuals. But yeah, just Google Barrio Expressions, and you'll find some of the events that he put on, and you can see the time capsule that he created through that. And I believe that in his last days, what he did was he took a lot of these videos and tapings and reel-to-reels, and he willed it to the Chicano program at San Jose State, I believe. So
Wow.
now they're archived there. And so, yeah. So, his memory lives on, and all of us growing up. And so, again, like I said, that's how art, that's how we grew up. And that's, he was a bridge. And with the music and the lifestyle and his voice, man, that played a role big time in my life.
Employees. You're tuned to Community Access Television Channel 3, serving San Leandro, San Lorenzo, and Hayward.
Welcome to Barrio Expression. This is my name is Isabel, and tonight we have a very special show for you. We're going to be showing a documentary that our producer and all of us have had interest in presenting to you. And Juan Espinosa, our producer, has been working on it, and it's on the labeling issue regarding the gang labeling issue that we covered last year, and dealing with that anti-graffiti issue, and also the idea that labeling our young people as gang members is not true. And so the tape will show you different young people talking, as well as...
So you grew up like in a tough neighborhood? Is that like what you're?
Yeah, in the Bay
upbringing
Area.
was?
That's right. My barrio was Los Palmas, and the reason why it was because just like in LA, we had the rows of palm trees. The city had rows and rows of palm trees, and every house had one, and so the area was considered Palmacia. So, and then the 101 freeway, or the Nimitz Freeway as it was known back then, it would be the east exit is where we lived, where my neighborhood was. And so it was East Los Palmas,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what our neighborhood was, growing up. And then of course in the Bay Area, you had neighborhoods, you had Hayward, which is where I'm from, and then you had Fremont, you had Decoto, you had Oakland, you had San Jose, just neighborhoods after cities after neighborhoods, and it was just, that's the environment, I mean, freeze down khakis, the Pendletons, man, and, you don't see that everyday life. I was going to school, I was going to church, that's how we dressed back then. And so,
and did
yeah,
your brothers,
yeah.
dress like that? Like, is that what you saw in your home, being like the littlest from your brothers? Is that like what you saw in your home, like your brothers dressing down? And
that was the style. That's what we knew coming from where we grew up with. I'm 54, and my oldest brother's 65. And so, that was the lifestyle, the paños and the Pendletons and the hairnets, and, it was just the whole environment growing up. It was a cholo culture, and that's what it was. My uncles were pachucos back in the days, growing up in South City and South San Francisco. My family, even myself, worked the fields. So there was, it ran deep, that sense of that style, that pachuco style, that cholo style. It ran deep.
Wow. And so that was already embedded in your bloodline.
Of course, yeah, yeah, that was there.
And so, you know, being that you grew up with your brothers being cholos and all that, so I assume growing up in your house, it like, would you guys listen to oldies? What kind of music did you grow up listening to?
Yes, we grew up listening to oldies. I mean, it was, of course, you had your regular type of oldies. Everybody listened to the common oldies, the Motown, Smokey Robinson, you know, the Temptations, and the such as CCR, you know, growing up, and then a little bit of, it even runs, like the Mamas and the Papas, just a different variety. The Animals we listen to, you know, just whatever music that, man, you know what, on a weekend, on a Friday night, Saturday night, you know, that's the type of music that we listen to, you know, late 60s, early 70s, and then, you know, the funk and stuff like that. So it was a whole different, a mixture of different types of genre of music, you know, sweet soul, Motown, Smokey, East Side Story, of course, everybody's go-to tunes, East Side Story. You know, we listened to that, man. You know, I remember my first were on 8-track. I'd go to the Pulga, the San Jose Flea Market, and I went straight for the music section. And at that time, it was a small little section. I'd go straight for the 8-tracks, and at that time, they were converted from 8-tracks to cassette tapes. So I'd snatch it up, you know. And of course, being the youngest, man, you know, I wanted something to bring to the table, and my thing was the music. Everybody was partying, everybody had their thing, and I wanted the music. As long as I had the tunes, you know, I was cool.
Yeah, of course. So do you feel like you were introduced to oldies by your older brothers? Like, that's how you were introduced to oldies, or did your mom like them too?
It was, well, of course, you know, my moms, when they get together with my aunt, my tias, and my uncles, they listen to Pedro Infante, Vicente Fernandez. You know, that was their music that they listened to. And we'd have the party there at the house, and all of us cousins would grow up, and then, hey, let's bust out our tunes. So we would do ours after they're done playing it on the big TV, 8-track, stereo console, you know?
And do you feel that, like, so your love for oldies, right, I'm sure it started very young. When do you feel like that you began to, like, start taking interest in collecting vinyl, but the type of vinyl that you collect? Because you're not just collecting, you know, like, the radio, right? Like, I call them, like, the radio, like, radio oldies. You're collecting
common oldies, right? Common oldies.
Yeah, common oldies. There you go. But you're collecting, like, rare souls. So where did that interest come in? Like, from, you know, just hearing, you know, radio oldies, like just your common oldies, to, wait, there's something else? Right. There's a B-side? There's, how did that start for you?
I was always into, because the radio, on Friday nights, we'd all sit in front of the radio, man, and UC Berkeley had an oldie station called KPFA. And on Friday nights, from, I believe it was 6 to 10, they would play the oldies that, you know, that would bump. The East Side Story, the I Do Love You, Billy Stewart, Brett Wood. And they would play the common ones, the ones that we're used to. I was always interested on the flip side, the one that never got any airplay. So I wanted to go and look for those ones that never was released, or that you can only find on an LP. You know, I wanted to bring those to the forefront and bring it to the homies. Hey, listen to this one. I know you heard this one, but check this out. This is on the flip side. You know,
wow.
So that was my bug. I wanted to go find those ones that didn't get no airplay, that nobody really heard of. They knew the artist, they knew the genre, but they didn't know, man, where did that come from? You know,
but
so that was my.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. But what do you think piqued your interest in that? Like, was it just like one day you heard a B-side and you're like, wait, there's more to this? Or how did you even, like, where did that start?
that just came with the territory, the music and the lifestyle. You know, that came with it. You know, and so just to find that tune that so and so didn't have, or you know, or hey, check this out, I got this, man. I bet you ain't got that one. You know, type thing. Yeah. So let me pull this one out. I bet you never heard this one. You know.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's what tugged at my soul is wanting to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Is there a specific type of oldie, right? So, like, for example, there's some that like, you know, like the more upbeat, rare soul type of oldie. Versus like me, I love the slower the better. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I like.
More, yeah. I like the slow. I like the slow también, but you know, a lot of cats they don't like that. Oh, that's the put me to sleep music.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have an ear for this music.
Yeah,
you know, for the sweet soul, you gotta have an ear for it because it tells a story. You know, it tells a story. It talks about the aches and the pains of love and being left behind, and you know, it tells a story. And you know, of course, you know, coming up in the barrio and the neighborhood, you know, we experience that, so we can relate to that type of music. You know,
you said it. I agree to that. I feel like Solera touched about this in her first interview, on her interview, right? Episode, I believe that was episode 2. She talked about this, and I thought that it was so deep because, just like you said, I feel like especially in the Hispanic culture, right? You know, we grew up in a home where it's not always okay to talk about our feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always okay to be like, oh, Mom, I broke up with this girl, I'm hurting, or Mom, I broke up with this boy, like, I'm sad. Like, what is our parents going to be like? Well, I don't know what to do, like, get over it, right? Like,
right. We're
like,
taught to save face.
Yeah.
To save face, show no emotion.
Right,
know, if
exactly.
we show that, then we're weak, you know?
Exactly. So, like, for me, why music was so important for me, it's because, how you said, it was relatable. And for me, when I would go through something, I didn't have people that I can talk to or call and say, you know, hey, I'm going through this, or hey, or even just to like sympathize with me, like, oh girl, I understand what you're going through. But I always had the music, and I would put on the radio and, you know, hear, you know, Change Me If You Can by Barbara Mason, you know,
right, exactly.
Or, you know, like those, you know, like Another Man Is Beating My Time from Barbara Mason, you know, like just music to like either encourage me or just to hear like somebody else has gone through this, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And music will take you through a journey. It will take you through a journey, you know, and sometimes you can find encouragement through it. So for me, that's why it was important, because I feel like that it helped me to know, like, I wasn't the only one going through this. Like, obviously there is somebody else in another time experienced the same thing, and I wasn't alone. So I agree with you. It's so relatable. It's so relatable.
Right.
Yeah. But okay. So then, you know, it being that music's so relatable, do you remember the first record that you purchased on your own? Like your first vinyl?
My first, it was a 45. It was Confession of Feeling on the Killian label, I believe it was.
Okay.
Confession of Feeling.
Nice. And what made you buy that one?
Well, like I said, you know, of course we heard the Confession of Feeling by Sly Stick and the Wicked. We heard that. But then, you know, And just like with this music, other cats that put their spin on the same song, you know. So that was the first one because I know I didn't hear nobody play that one. Nobody even knew who that cat was until I bring it to the, you know, the kickbacks and all that. Hey, check this out. I know we heard this version, but have you heard this one? This cat's spin on it.
That's awesome. Like, I love that. I'm the same way. Like, all the, like, so for example, like when I do the OD shows, people ask me like, okay, for example, like Confessing a Silly, right? I will always find it my mission to find like a revamp to the song. I don't know. I would like
right, exactly.
I would play any other version but the one on the radio.
Exactly. You know, you wanted to be different. You didn't want to be like that guy or
exactly.
that girl.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
So that was my first 45, man, and I told
do you still have it?
I played that sucker. I still got it. I still got it in my caja. Yeah, I still got it.
That's awesome. What has collecting vinyl got you into? So how long have you been collecting vinyl for?
Shoot, it's been about maybe
how many?
A little over 30 years. 30 years, maybe a little more. Yeah,
right.
I went from 8-tracks to cassettes, and then, you know, and then during that time, I stopped a little bit collecting, you know, it's time to raise the family and all that, and then that bug came back, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then it was time for busting them out again, man, and start seeing what I got and what I need to get, you know.
Yeah. So collecting vinyl, what has it gotten you into? Because I know you've been invited to spin places. Like, what are some experiences that you have gotten to experience just by collecting vinyl?
Just by, you know, and again, it's for the love of the music. It's got me to know some really, really good people, man. Really good people that have the same interests. A few years ago, we started a club, and called the Soul Siders. You got myself, and then we had our soul sister La Dreamer. She passed away, and so we kind of slowed down a little bit because of that. And then we got the homeboy Benji in it. So it's us two, and my granddaughter. So we're trying to keep that going.
Your granddaughter, you said?
My granddaughter. Yeah.
Wow. So it's passing on from generation to generation.
Yes, it is. And, you know, and it's, like I said, it's the music. You know, it's the music that bridges the gaps, man. You know, I mean, it just brings people together. I met some real good amigas and amigos, the homegirls of soul out of the Bay Area. Laughing Boy Soldies out here in Stockton, Teresa out here in Sacramento, T-Funk. So, you know, you meet a lot of good people, man, and just having the same bug, having the same ear for that type of music, man. And so, you know, it's hard to get to a lot of these events because, you know, you get invites and things like that, and sometimes we're able to make it and sometimes we're not. But it's all good. You know, it's all good. It's for the love of that music, though. So it's really the people, man, that are in the same type of environment, man, of this soul music.
Right. So you've done some events, right? You have.
That's correct.
Have you been able to travel anywhere, like, or have you just stayed local?
No, I haven't been able to travel. I've been local here in the valley, and so I have the Soul Siders. We have a residence out here in Sacramento where we spin once every other month, man, at a spot out here, and we'll bring some soul spinners in. I know we did a couple of events a few years back. We opened up for the Devonics. Out here, we opened up, we did a set and opened up for Jason Joshua and the Beholders. So you know, I had an opportunity to be involved with that. So, you know, that was pretty cool.
Do you remember the first time that you ever got invited to spin?
The first time, it was, matter of fact, it was Laughing Boy. He was out of Stockton. I think he's in Hayward now. He moved to Hayward. He had a function going on at a car show. It was a car show, you know, and so, you know, like I said, man, I'm just a small fish in the sea. I know there's a lot of cats that are deeper and have a lot of hard hitters than I do. But it was at a car show that he did, a function there that he did, that he extended the invite, and we did that. Man, it was awesome. And then from there, we did a couple of car shows and stuff like that. But, you know, me personally, I never really did, you know, big events or things like that. It's just, you know, my time, my schedule sometimes doesn't allow me to do those type of things, you know?
Yeah. So the first time was at that event, right? You said it was at the
it was
car show?
It was in Stockton, California at a car show that Laughing Boy Soldies. He was putting it on. That's a good cat there. He's got some heavy hitters too. Got an invite for him and went there and spun, and it was cool. You know, albeit, you know, it was a car show. We did it. We dug it. You know, had people on the dance floor, which was cool. It's always good to see that people enjoying the tunes, man. But yeah, that was one of the first ones.
Awesome. And why do you feel that you like collecting vinyl? Like, why vinyl? Like, why do you feel that that's your niche?
You know, because, you know, it's something about when that needle hits the vinyl, when that needle hits the wax, man, it's that snap, crackle, and pop, man. Just listening to that, you know, I mean, it's hard to explain, you know, just that vinyl record, man, that wax, just having that, man, knowing that, you know, I mean, that's been around for years, you know, and it made a comeback within the last 10 years or so, and it's getting expensive, you know.
It is.
45s.
It really is.
These prices are crazy on some of these 45s. To be in this game, you got to have deep pockets.
What is the most expensive record or vinyl record that you have seen out there? Yeah, just to give a number.
I've seen?
Yes.
I've seen one go for about $8,000.
Do you know which one it was?
No, see, that's what I recall which one it was, because that price.
You're like, never mind, I don't care which one it is.
Exactly. I was like, man, I was looking, man, that, you know, $8,000, geez, you know?
Yeah, it definitely has. And I think, like, that, the price is intimidating, right? Like, maybe, like, for somebody that wants to start collecting vinyl and get into the game. I know, like, when I first started collecting vinyl and I started shopping around, I was like, oh my God, and to think that there's people that have thousands. Like, like how? Like, how do they do it? Because I'm like looking at these prices and I'm like, I want that, but I don't want it that bad right now. Not right now, you know?
Exactly. You know, is it a mortgage payment or
exactly.
is it just 45, you know?
Right,
so.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. And, you know, now, you know, I feel like I always tell everybody, right, that wants to start collecting, and I say that because I have heard that before. It's like, it's so expensive, but I always say, like, you're gonna spend that money at McDonald's anyways. Like, just save little by little by little, and build your collection. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. You know, just build it. It's intimidating, but it's worth it. You know, it's an investment that you're making.
That's it. That's right. You know, just, you know, you gotta have a passion. I mean, it's gotta hurt. If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't mean anything. You know, so my advice to these cats that are coming up in the game, that be ready to spend some money. You know, it's okay. You don't have to, you know, catch up with the Joneses on this. You just go at your own pace,
Right.
and get the music that you like. And the most important thing is keeping it alive. That's the most important thing.
Right, exactly. And what's your favorite record out of all your collection that you love the most? Like your prized possession?
My prized possession is a 45 that actually my wife had gotten it for me. She had gotten for me. Thank God for that, man. It's by the Arcade, and it's called "There's Got to Be a Loser" on a Triad label.
There's got to be a loser. 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 Come and listen to me, my friend, and let me tell you of the trouble I'm in. My baby left me and I don't know why. I wonder if she's with another guy.
They're from my own hometown, Hayward, California.
Wow.
So, yeah, they put us on the map back in the day. So they were in the game too. You know, the ballads were out of Oakland. You know, and then you had a few out of the city, out of San Francisco. You know, they put on the map as well. But yeah, it was the Arcades. There's got to be a loser. Yeah,
Wow.
they're out of Hayward, California.
That's awesome. And what, I know you kind of touched on this, but this is the last question to end the interview. What's the best advice? Anything. It doesn't have to be music related. Maybe even just life advice that you can give to the next generation of upcoming soleros and soleras. Like what advice do you have for them?
The thing is, you know what? Just keep it alive. It doesn't matter if it's a common tune. Just go out there and just start digging for records. You're gonna find that diamond in the rough. And the more you dig, the more you get that bug. The more you find, the more you satisfying it gets. So, you know, don't be scared off. You know, there's always gonna be. I always say there's always gonna be somebody else that has it bigger and better than you. So don't even worry about competing. It's not about competition. It's about keeping the music going, keeping the music flowing. That's what it's about.
That's right. Of course. Yes. Well, do you have anything that you want to say? I know I do. I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to interview you and get to know you as a vinyl collector, as a spinner, and the advice that you gave to our second generation is do not be intimidated, and don't worry about the next person who's, if that vinyl collector has more or better. It doesn't matter. You get your little records that you have, the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you have, but play them with pride. Because that's
right.
Your money. That's the money that you invested in those records. And that you should have pride in that. You should, because you're investing into the beautiful sound of Rare Soul. So I'm with you on that. And thank you so much for this interview. You have anything else you want to say before we end?
I just want to say, you know what, to all the vinyl collectors out there, man, you know what, I'm just a small fish in the pond, man. But you know what? Let's keep this thing flowing. Let's keep the music playing and keep that music alive, man. Because you know what? Let's bring it back. Let's bring it on the airwaves. Thank you, Crystal, for having me. I'm loving what you're doing on your podcast, and I hope many more great episodes that you continue to have.
Thank you. Thank you. It really means a lot. And this is why I'm doing this podcast, you know. I tell everybody it's almost taking its own identity because when I started the podcast, I had initially started and I was like, well, I'm going to create it just to talk about different topics. But you know how we say like, you know, you may have a plan, but God has other plans, you know, and I really feel that, you know, what I had initially thought it was just going to be an open platform for anybody and everybody. But it's so crazy how this platform is just like vinyl spinners and you know, I had Café Canela just this last episode, which they're an upcoming modern soul band, and it's just, and it's been like opening doors after door after door, and that's what I know, you know, it's taking on its own identity because that's how it's supposed to be, you know. And my desire is my desire is I don't ever want these interviews. I always say if something happens to me, please don't ever delete these, because I feel like I'm leaving a mark in history where my kid can go back and listen to these interviews and you know, get some guidance. Well, how do I start and how did they start? You know, it's like a library, right? They can always go back and listen. So I've been blessed that it's just having everybody, not just you, but everybody on these interviews. Thank you so much.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said it. You said it. Thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, everybody, that does complete this episode. Continue to follow us. Okay, well, before we end, where can people find you at? Like, if they want to reach out to you directly, are you on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube? Where you at?
I'm on Instagram. Social media Instagram under Soul Motion. Soul Motion. SOUL _motion.
Perfect. All right. Well, guys, that does complete today's episode. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys soon.